just to sync up, particularly in light of the fact that faculty members from JNTU Vijayanagaram could not join us a couple of weeks, and a couple of other colleges could not join. We were talking about modeling, system modeling, chapter 5. And then we started discussing the concepts of entities, classes, class diagrams, event sequencing, all kinds of different models, right? So the students that are there, I kind of told them that, hey, you should be reviewing the material as we go along, because I'll be skipping a lot of slides. I'll give some ideas. The classroom is only meant for discussing a few key concepts, and most of the learning has to happen outside the classroom. Okay, and then you should come back with questions. So we were in the middle of the chapter, and what I want to do is I want to wrap up the chapter. I actually wanted them to do self-study. But we'll try to cover some of those concepts today. And then chapter 6, I don't want to start chapter 6, considering that we do not have many students here today. But I want you all be doing some self-study of chapter 6. The reason is, let me start a new whiteboard here. We talked about it briefly, but I want to do a midterm. Faculty members, you're welcome to give your suggestions. I want to do midterm next Thursday. Next Thursday, your time is what? October 1st, Ankuntan. October 1st is a holiday, right? October 2nd is a holiday. So is that okay, Tirmal Rao Garu and from Gudlavaleru faculty and Chakravarti Garu? First seems like a very good midpoint. Cheppandi, I'll unmute you. Hold on. Cheppandi Tirmal Rao Garu.
Yeah, sir. Shall we go for next Monday, sir? Sunday they will prepare a bit. If it is not a holiday, I'll just check it out first.
Next Monday. Acha. Okay, check it out.
Not Monday, sir. After Thursday, the next Monday.
Yeah. Cheppandi, you can
after
check
Thursday, that means.
Kani.
It's coming around. Okay, it's Friday, Saturday. 5th, sir.
October 5th. Let me check my calendar. October 5th. Okay, no problem. We can do it. I cannot erase it. I can. So midterm is October 5th.
Sir, but in Kakinada from 5th, their mids are starting.
So this is also mid only, right?
No, the other mid.
So
I'll consult with HOD and I'll see that it will be included in that.
No problem. But what we'll do is that as a general class we can do, because wait till you hear what I'm going to say, because you missed last week's class.
Yeah.
I think from Aditya Engineering College, the madam and the professor were there. So the way I'm going to do the midterm is, it is going to be the exam will be done in teams of 2. So 2 people together will be working on the exam. It is open book, open notes, internet access, and of course, open mind. Okay. Now, when I do that, I'm assuming that I'm not violating any university rules, because here, as a faculty member, I have enormous freedom as to how I do my tests, what I do. Pretty much faculty member can do whatever they want. Okay. I mean, within reason. But the reason I want to do that in a midterm in teams of 2 is I want to simulate the industry environment there. Nobody works on a project in isolation. You all work in teams. Okay. Now, if students are thinking, oh my God, this instructor is so easy. He's giving open book, open notes, internet access, open mind. Everyone will get 100 out of 100. You must all be jumping with joy, which is okay. I want you to get 100 out of 100. Okay. But as I told you, it has to be open mind. I'll make you think. It's not like you can Google up and you get answers. Okay. It won't be like that. It would really make you think, and you should have a good grasp of the material of the first 6 chapters. Generally, I don't make up my exams well in advance. Whatever comes to mind the night before, if I'm in a good mood, the exam would be easy. And if I'm in a bad mood, your exam would be pretty tough. But having said that, I'll try to do this in advance, since it's a long distance one. I will run by the exam questions with all the faculty members in the respective colleges. Because if you take Chakravarti Garu or Tirmal Rao Garu or the other faculty members, they themselves are all experts in software engineering.
Sir, small request, sir.
Cheppandi.
Sir, actually TCS pre-placement and placement is there till up to 8th anamata. Can you go for October 12th as mid-exam, sir?
Oh, sure. We can do that.
Yes, sir. That will be amicable for us, sir.
Okay.
We'll lock the date. If it is okay, we'll lock the date, sir.
Okay. So we can lock the date October 12th. No problem. You can, and Chakravarti Garu, since he's coordinating all of these things, he can send me a final confirmation. Okay. Now,
Sir, I'll take the consolidated suggestions and I'll mail you.
Pretty much it'll be fun. Yeah.
I'll mail you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Got it. And the way the exam will be done, as I said, teams of 2. Classroom is the meeting point. After this is all for the students. After the test paper, I'll write here to get the test paper. You are welcome to work in the library or some other classroom, doesn't matter. So my typing is a little bit bad here, bear with me. Got it? So it'll be basically, you want to go sit in a Irani chai house and work on your paper, I wouldn't care. Okay, the time limit is 2 to 3 hours. Okay. I do not know how long your midterms are in the respective colleges, but I do give for my students to do their exam. I'm not really big on time I pay in the okay. So I'm giving as much freedom to the students as possible. In return, I expect them to do a fantastic job. Okay. How do I grade? This is, let me mute all of you here. Okay. మీ grading scheme మీరు translate చేసుకోవాలి అక్కడ, but I'll tell you what I do. 90 plus I'll write here. 90 plus is A grade on a midterm. 80 plus is B. I do not know if anyone would get C grades. I would be disappointed if anyone gets C grades, but that's a reality, right? 70 plus is C. Anything less than 70, they should be looking at some other career, not as a software engineer. Let me put it that way. Okay. Questions from students, comments about what I just shared with you, about how the test is going to be. If anyone has a question, raise the hand and the faculty member would bring you to the mic. No questions? Okay. So somebody is coming forward. Okay. If anyone has questions, ask your faculty member to come forward and come. They'll give you the mic and you can ask me the question. Okay. As I told you, when I do open book and all that, it's not like you'll find the answer somewhere where you can simply do it. I make you think. These are all thinking exams and problem solving exams. Okay, good. Let me open up my slide deck here. And then one more thing, administrative detail. I'm going to freeze the community. Tirumala Garu, do I have to wait till October 12th or can I freeze the community by next Monday? One second, let me unmute you. Chapan. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I could not get, sir. Community, your freezing means I couldn't understand this.
So there are more than 100 people who joined the community online.
Sir.
Right?
Sir.
If anyone else needs to join that, they should join by next Monday.
Okay, sir. Okay, that we will tell them, sir.
Okay.
Actually, almost all of them have joined. Monday is okay for us.
Okay.
Monday is
next
okay.
Monday. Yeah. Okay. Once I freeze, you cannot join.
Sure.
I mean,
Not a problem, sir.
Okay, got it. That is where we post all of our files and all that. Okay, I'll mute JNT Vijayanagaram getting static. Okay. Okay, we covered that. What about projects? Project specs. I received the list of project teams from one college last week. When do you want to freeze the project specs by? I would think that we should. Sorry, let me mute you for a second, JNT Vijayanagaram. I'm getting a lot of static from it. The project specs meaning the teams and the project teams and the project that they do. I should have it by. To be fair, why don't we have it October 12th, the exam day, because since everyone is busy, we should have it October 12th because that way we'll have enough time for them to do some meaningful project. When does the semester end? Chakravarti Garu, can you tell me when does the semester end? If Chakravarti Garu is there, or Tirmal Rao Garu, if you know anyone. Oh, let me.
Sir, November 15th.
9th of November, it's the last working day.
9th of November.
Then they have exams. Exams will be there after 2 weeks.
Got it. then I would actually prefer, instead of October 12th, can we get that by October 5th?
Actually, October 5th, they are going for TCS campus drive, sir.
Okay.
12th, we'll anyhow finalize it, sir, on the test day.
Okay. Okay, got it. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll not have enough time to do the project. Okay.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Okay. Good. Excellent. And let me open up the slide deck here. Okay. Now let's start off with some reviewing. I see a lot of students in Vijayanagaram now. We talked about all kinds of models, right? Let's list down some models here. You can put it in chat, or you can. Okay, so before I get into models, I had a question in the chat window here saying give brief explanation about the project idea. If you recall, I actually shared with them a whole bunch of projects, like a big list from 2 different sources. I gave them the link. I want them to go to those go to those links, look at the projects. But what is it that I'm looking for in a project, right? I think we talked about it. We'll start off with a problem statement. That means they will define the domain and all that, right? And then we will apply kind of like a, what I call it as not completely agile. We'll say apply some agile way of doing stuff. The reason I say that is we are learning a lot of models and all that. So in true agile, we kind of throw those things out the door, but I want them to get a good idea, right? So they are going to come up with a project plan. Okay. Have students learned how to create project plans in any of the classes? I assume they do know it. Otherwise, I'll show them some examples. They can do that. So after the problem statement, what I want is I want a requirements analysis / modeling. So here, when they do this requirements analysis modeling, they will come up with use cases, call it user stories if you want to use the agile term, right? I want ER models. Okay. Then I will ask them to create all the models that we discussed in chapter 5, right? Like for example, the class models, event diagrams, how to process flow, right? Event diagrams which show process flow. After they do that, I don't think in this class we can really make them implement a piece of code, but people, I do give them the option of prototyping. Okay, and I will, with the help of all the faculty members, they will have a prototype. Prototype can be hard-coded PDF mockups, or if people are very good in programming, they can also do real code. When I say PDF mockups, it includes like HTML mockups and so on. I'm assuming that all of you, all the students have learned how to do HTML, or they will learn it by themselves, right? They have to do their own work. Whether they have learned it in any of the class or not, they have to learn some of these things by themselves and do it. Okay. Now, after that, they will put together a project report. Okay. With all the models, with the table of contents, the formal. When I say project report, it includes like table of contents, acknowledgements, right? Introduction, all the stuff. So oftentimes in my classes, when people have done projects in my class, they actually became their senior projects too, meaning they actually submitted projects to, I mean, they have to implement more, right? But they use these projects as a basis to finish their senior project, just to give you an idea. And I don't even have to push them, they just do it. Okay. And then finally, on the last day, remember we talked about we select a few teams to present in the class. Okay. And that last day of class, when the presentations are happening, presentations and food. Most of the time, see here in US, I usually do two. After midterm, I also give them a lunch, and in the final day also, we always do a lunch on me. Okay, so I will take the support and help of faculty members to do that. We'll have fun time. Okay, so that is the day when you are showing off students. You are showing off your wonderful work. Okay. I know we may not have enough time to do all the work, but it'll still be good. I'm quite confident that you will do it. Okay. I hope I answered it as complete as I can. But there's a lot of work. Let there be no doubt in your mind. You have to put in your effort. This statement I'm making only to students, faculty members, please ignore. Most of my students here, they get either A grade or B grade. They don't get a C. They have to be really, really bad to get a C. Meaning they don't do any work, they're irresponsible and all that, right? So, but I never faced such issues. So I expect all students to do well. I mean, I do not know whether this grade is going to count for you or not, but at least in my class scenario, at least I expect you all to be doing well. And based on what I have seen so far, I think the students are very motivated. I'm sure they'll do a good job. Okay, great. If students have any questions, ask them while I open up the slide deck. Let me open up. Give me 1 second. I'm opening up my slide deck here if I can find it somewhere. If anyone has any questions, put them in the chat in the meantime. I'll share it in 1 second after I open. Okay, I'll ready to share now. Okay, let me put it in a way where I can see all of you as well. Bear with me for a second. Okay, I can see all of you here. Okay, so you see my slide deck. I kind of minimized it కొంచెం చిన్నగా చేశాను, so that way I can see all of you. Let me open the chat also here. Okay. There's one more question in the chat here saying how we can form groups. I actually discussed that one. I think that was the time when I think Chakravarti garu, when you raised this question, you were in Bangalore or something like that. I think they all pretty much know how to form the groups now. But if they still have any difficulty, the faculty members can help. Each group would have about 4 to 5 team members. Okay, and give your team some name. Okay, the list that I got, they all had nice names for the project teams. If you want to call yourself Royal Challengers or Kakinada Tigers, whatever you want to call. Okay, have fun doing the project. Okay, so going back to this chapter on system modeling, so let us focus on that today, and then we'll do some. I'll ask you questions, and then you can. We can do some examples interactively. Okay. No fixed agenda, like I'm not going to go through each and every slide here, right? But in chapter 5, we kind of stopped around this place here where we are getting into different types of models that are created as part of the unified modeling language, right? UML. If you use the rational UML techniques, RUP, as they call it, rational unified process model, right? So we were modeling a medical receptionist, and these are all the use cases that the receptionist would do, right? Register a patient, unregister a patient, view patient information. How do we know all these use cases? Generally from the problem statement, when the client is describing the problem statement, most of the verb phrases, for the sake of simplicity, I'll tell you. Verbs and verb phrases suggest possible use cases. Okay. For example, let us say I'm going to say that write a problem statement for a course assignment, or I would say course scheduling in a university. So my problem statement would say, hey, the scope of the project is to build an automated course scheduling system. The faculty members use the course scheduling system to give preferences as to what courses they want to teach, and blah, 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 right? So when I read that problem statement, the nouns in that problem statement denote potential users. When I say the faculty members are going to be using the system, the faculty member is a noun. That faculty member is a noun and he becomes a user. So just like medical receptionist, it will be replaced by faculty member. Okay. Use cases, they can input their interests, meaning like what is my specialty? If Pratap, the faculty member, is using that one, I'll go there and say I'm interested in teaching software engineering or security, like that. So that is how you come up with an initial list of users and use cases. Very easy, right? Rule of thumb. It's not a big deal at all. Now, would you capture all the use cases immediately? No. But what I call it as, you will get a working set of users and the use cases. Okay. Standard, I'm using standard RUP terminology. Okay. If you're talking about agile, in agile, what we say is, instead of calling users and use cases, the specific term that we use, if you recall from earlier lectures, we call them user stories. Okay. Slight changes in the definitions, but you get the idea. Bottom line is, no matter whether you're agile, non-agile, it doesn't matter what it is. Fundamentally, you need to know 3 things in any system. Okay. If you know the three things, go ahead, somebody had a question? No question, okay. So if I go here, fundamentally, it doesn't matter which technique you use. If I go to my whiteboard, I'm trying to go to my whiteboard here. How do I do that? Maybe I have to say stop sharing and then go to the whiteboard. So fundamentally, there are three things. Now, if I say three things, if I type four, don't fault me for that. So three things are required. It doesn't matter what any project, three things you need to know as a business analyst to start the project. I'm looking at the lady in Chakravarti Garu's room with the green chudidar kurta. See, now I'm able to pinpoint people to answer the question. What's your name?
Sindhusha, sir.
Sindhusha.
Yes, sir.
How do you spell your name?
Sindhusha.
Okay.
Sindhusha.
Sindhusha. Okay, nice name. Okay. So what are the three things that everyone needs to know when they were doing projects for a client or internal project? You name one. You don't have to say all the three.
First, requirements, sir.
Requirements are requirements తెలియాలి. But I'm looking for some based on the modeling chapter that we studied so far. I'm looking for something more specific than that.
Efficiency.
Okay. Okay. Efficiency.
Suppose,
Okay. Good.
in searches, which search will be best? Like binary search or linear search?
Okay, so I think you will become a very good data structure and algorithms person. I can tell you that. You would not be a business analyst. You would be a developer. Okay, now pass the ball to someone behind you. I see the guy with a blue shirt to your right. He's trying to hide. Okay, tell me your name.
Satya Sunil, sir.
Satya Sunil. Okay, speak the truth and nothing but the truth. Okay. Tell me what are the three things that we all have to figure out to get the project going. If you name one, that'll be a good start. I just started off this lecture also with that.
We should make a group, sir, and divide the project into so that
Okay.
the project, sir.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm still not getting the answer. So what I'll do is I'll pass the ball to Vijayanagaram వాళ్ళ దగ్గర చాలా మంది స్టూడెంట్స్ ఉన్నారు. And I'll unmute you, but there'll be a lot of static. Let me see if I can see the Vijayanagaram gang here. I'm not able to see the students well. Tirumala garu, pick one student. Now I can see them. On the right side corner, I see a blue and a red, two girls sitting next to each other in the third or fourth row. One, two, from the front, second, third, fourth row. Yeah. Guys, if you're thinking I'm having a bias toward ladies here, no. It's women first, right? I'm just being a gentleman there. Okay, tell me your name.
Haindavi, sir.
What?
Haindavi.
Haindavi. Okay, got it.
Haindavi, yes.
Perfect.
Okay, sir.
Okay, perfect. Tell me what are the things that we should get going on a project?
Sorry, sir. What?
So what are the three things that I'm speaking slowly because there's echo, which would provide me a starting point to get going on a project? I already have the problem statement. It is in your hands. What do you do at that point?
So according to the requirement, we have to develop an architecture,
Okay, good try.
and basing on that architecture, we have to model our project.
Okay, now when you're modeling a project, what are the things that you would look for?
Is that our requirements is getting satisfied or not?
Okay, good try. Okay, let's ask your classmate who's standing behind you to help you out. Tell me your name.
Parjanya, sir.
అర్థం అవ్వలేదు
Parjanya, sir.
Parjanya. Okay, good. Hi. Sorry, my mistake. Okay, tell me. It's a tough question, huh? మీ అందరికీ? Okay, how about I give a hint? Good try. What I mean by that is all projects, all systems, they all have these three things. That's what I made a statement, right? Irrespective of whether you're building a missile system or a registration system or medical system, all of them have users. Do you agree? If you agree, raise your hands. Okay, this is where I make you stretch, right? Raise your hands if you agree. All systems that we develop have users. Users do something, right? With the system. Agree? So what are these called? These are called use cases. Okay, now who wants to tell me what is the third one? Somebody answer the third one correctly. In that college, I'll ask the faculty member to give them a lunch coupon for $10. $10 అంటే 600 రూపీస్ మంచి లంచ్ వస్తుంది. And you took classes, you actually did other classes, you should be able to answer that just like that. And then chapter 5 లో కూడా మనం నేర్చుకున్నాం అది. All systems, what did we say? Okay, here's a hint. What is the difference between an entity and a class? That's a hint. And some student actually answered it very well last class, not the last one, the previous one. So you all know what a class is, right? What does the class have? Who can answer that question? What does a class have? Let me ask, I see exciting stuff in Aditya Engineering College. What? Cannot hear you. Somebody's trying to say something. Okay, I can see Aditya Engineering College now. I'm always fascinated. All of you are in uniforms. Okay. What is the difference between an entity and a class? Covered that. Is Aditya Engineering College all? Are there? Is there anyone who wants to come forward? Okay, I will give you the answer. Okay. In my opinion, all systems, when I say all, don't take boundary cases. Okay, standard normal projects which I expect you people be doing. they will have data, right? You agree? If there is no data, then why are you using the system? And if you are not performing anything in the system, right? So they are users. Users have to do something with the system. And when you're modeling them, classes and all that, that's where you show the functions and the data on which the functions act on. You agree? So as a business analyst, you have to quickly identify users, use cases, and data. Now, all the models that we talk about, they revolve around these only, right? When I talk about a use case model, I'm talking about users and what the users do with it. And then when I talk about an ER model, entity relationship model, I'm modeling the data. All right. Now, how you put together all of these things is where you get into systems modeling and all that. Okay. Okay, I hope you got that. Let me now share the whiteboard. My PowerPoint. Okay. Okay. Now we covered briefly. Let me mute mute people here again. Okay. I just muted Ideal. I'm getting a lot of static somewhere. Okay. Okay, now there is no static. So you get that. See, one thing in life, that's why I told you, I'll give you a working knowledge, right? It doesn't matter how much you remember, how much you don't remember at the end of the course. But when you go to an interview, when they ask you, how do you go about developing? I mean, you're all doing placement tests now, right? How do you go about developing a project? Where do you start? Every interviewer would ask you, where would you start? Okay, you say, okay, I need a problem statement. If there is no problem statement, I'll work with the client to generate a problem statement. Problem statement is nothing but one Word document, right? Okay, the assumption is you have a problem statement. Then your work begins where you say, I would quickly identify who the users of the system are. What do they do with it? That is the use cases. And what is the data that they need to maintain in the system? If you have those three, that is 60% of the job right there. That is why if you have a good business analyst on your team, the developer's life would be very happy. They don't have to do the thinking much because the business analyst has done all that. And of course, all that a business analyst does, the architecture guy would take over and start creating an architecture. Architecture is nothing but if I have a big problem to solve, how do I break it down into smaller systems called subsystems? In the UML methodology, we talked about saying class diagrams, right? In the previous slides, we have seen some examples of class diagrams. Okay, so we create some subsystems like that. If you take, for example, let us say I'm tasked to develop a bank ATM machine. Okay, so who are the users of the system in an ATM machine? The customer is the user, right? Withdraw cash, deposit cash, transfer money. See how easy it becomes, right? And what is the data that I maintain in the system? The account number, the customer name, customer PIN, their balances, right? It's a very logical, easy way to think about any problem statement. That is why it doesn't matter which environment that I go to in any time. As long as I know how to ask these three questions, I look as like a genius. Okay, very simple though, right? Okay, now I also said last class, couple of weeks ago, some of you missed, I said in this section, lots and lots of diagrams, different types of diagrams. It does not mean diagrams for every single project. No. Instead, it is basically like a toolkit. Like if you see a repairman, he always carries a tools bag. And what does he have in the tool bag? He has screwdrivers, pliers, wrenches, right? Depending on the situation, he'll use one or more of those. Same thing here too. We are like the toolkit guys. We have all these different diagrams, and depending on the context, we use one or more of those. Okay. So what are sequence diagrams? They basically show the sequencing of actions, right? All the interactions that take place during a particular use case, right? Now, this one in the good old days when we are talking about sequence diagram of a use case, that basically morphed and transformed itself into what are known as user stories now. In Agile, you don't say I'm drawing a sequence diagram. What you say in Agile is you say I'm coming up with a user story. User story, another term that user story is nothing but scenario. Here is an example. So if I create a slide here, if I say insert, slide, I'm trying to insert a slide here. Hold on. So if I do, let us say here is a use case. Okay, the use case is the scenario for the use case. What I'm trying. మీకు అక్కడ vending machines ఉంటాయి కదా. Okay, so I have a user scenario, not scenario. Get coffee. That's the use case. Okay. So what are all the interactions that need to happen to get coffee out of the vending machine? What is the first thing that needs to happen? Interaction. I'll give you the first thing because first thing is always the easy thing, right? User has to put coins. By the way, I'm assuming all of you are familiar with vending machines, right? No brainer. Okay. Okay. What is the second thing that needs to happen in that sequence? Who can answer that question? Gudlavarelo faculty, students yeah. So we'll stick to Jane, we'll stick to Aditya or Vijayanagram. What could be potentially the next one? So user puts the coins. Then what happens? When there's an interaction, the interaction is happening between who and who. See, you need to have two parties to interact, right? Unless you are a philosopher. If you are a philosopher, then you interact with yourself or a researcher. But in real life, user can be abstract or it can be real. So you're interacting with some subsystem within the machine, correct? Vending machine. So what is the second? Once I put coins, what does the vending machine do? And let's assume that all the items there cost 10 rupees. Let's assume that. Okay. So the vending machine will display balance. Let's say I put coins 1 rupee. Vending machine says 9 more rupees still to be. So until sum of coins put is greater than or equal to rupees 10, because every item costs at least 10. You agree? Put in chat. You are following, put it in chat. If you are not following also, put it in chat. Then what happens? What is the third one? Help me out here. What is the third thing in that sequence? Okay. So at some point it will say system or VM will prompt selection. By the way, I'm making a big assumption here that all of you are extremely comfortable with vending machines, where you go put money and get some food out, right? So when VM will prompt for selection, like I say A3 prompt correct again as well. And okay, so VM will prompt for selection. Okay, then I'll skip some steps there. You say dispense the selected item. Does that cover at a high level the sequence in which these things should happen for the use case called getting coffee out of the vending machine or getting some item? Okay. Okay, let me pause here for a second. Is there anyone here who does not understand what I showed? I'm not seeing the video because I think because of the low bandwidth, sometimes the video is shut off. So if there's anyone who does not understand that, here is your chance to raise your hand, come forward and speak in the mic. This is like the foundation. If you don't get this one, you can never become a good engineer, good software engineer. Okay. This chapter 5 is so crucial. That's why I'm spending significant time on that, trying to explain. Okay. So that is what sequence diagram is. It's nothing but, if you go back to the slide here, so you're modeling the interaction with the actors and the objects within a system. Now, if you notice when I did all these things, who can point out some holes there? Who can question that sequence diagram? Did I miss anything? Or is it perfect? Let us discuss this one. This one point here itself is so crucial. Faculty members are welcome to interact here. You can raise questions. Tell me what I did wrong there or what I left out. Okay, for example, I simply said VM will prompt for selection, right? Okay, and then I simply said dispense the selected item. What if the selected item is not there? What is the expected behavior if the selected item is not there? I say I want coffee with milk and sugar. Milk the milk is gone. Milk is over. What happens in that case? Who wants to answer that question? There are two options, right? One option is and the guy who designed the vending machine says, too bad you just lost your money. I keep the money and you won't get your coffee.
Here,
Yeah.
you have to give options. First option is whether the item is not available. Do you want any option, other choices?
Perfect. Perfect.
Relevant choices should be displayed.
Correct.
Otherwise, the amount should be returned to you.
Otherwise, the amount should be returned. You say cancel your transaction, it should return the amount.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Right.
Those are all extremely legitimate in modeling. That is the reason why the sequence diagrams become such a fantastic tool for us, because who is going to question that, by the way? Professor Murthy Garu just told us that one, but who is going to ask those questions in the context analysts? You have architects, you have developers, right?
So the business analyst has to ask that question.
To
In
the
fact,
user.
the user has to supply.
Correct.
In fact, the user has to supply the spec. If he is missing this aspect, the business analyst has to remind him out of the stuff
Exactly.
after
Exactly.
checking.
Perfect.
And then the architect should approve that aspect.
Correct. So I hope students got that. So that is the power of doing these kinds of diagrams. It's not like we do it just for the fun of it. They serve a significant purpose. They act as a communication tool between you, the business analyst, and the user. And once you detail sequence, imagine you give it to a developer. Isn't this essentially an algorithm that you're giving to him, right? If I do my job right, I give these event flows correctly, the developer can blindly code. Okay, otherwise he has to start making assumptions. Okay, so that is one aspect. So let me move on. Okay. Now, how do we draw those things? There are multiple ways of doing that. Here is a standard way that we reviewed last time when we had a class, right? You typically show the actors on the top, left to right. So you go from left to right and you put arrows because you know who the sender of who originated that action and where it is ending. You can see that arrow there. And after that, this object p patient info is interacting with d.mentcaredb. So you see that arrow, right? So in this case, they're authenticating and authorizing the user, whether the user is allowed to even access that information or not. Okay. Now imagine if you have 150 use cases. A typical project is a 6 to 9 month project would have at least 100 use cases. 7 users, 7 plus or minus 2. Remember I told you the 7 plus or minus 2 cognitive psychology rule. So you'll have about 7 or 8 different types of users and about another, each one would have about 10 use cases. That's about 100. Now, do you expect to draw these kinds of diagrams for all the 100 use cases? Absolutely not. If you don't know anything else, you will spend time drawing that because you are keeping yourself busy. We do it for important things. It's impossible to draw. It's practically not possible. I mean, if you talk about a professor giving, but the world is not working like that today. The world is hack it. It's actually, I'll tell you the reality in Silicon Valley. They want people who can hack code. We conduct, I don't know if it came to India or not. Here we have hackathons. You all heard about hackathons, right? Where all these smart kids go spend a weekend and they code 50 hours non-stop. Okay, 50 hours. They typically go on a Friday night and then there's no sleep. They're taking naps in between and so on. Okay, in a big hall. And then Sunday afternoon is when they are done. So that means they are working all day Saturday and at least half on Sunday. And guess what? By end of that, they actually have a real working product. Okay, so when you're talking about those kinds of environments, all these pictures would not come in handy, but they are there for you to get some clarity. Okay, they become your cheat sheet. Okay, now let me proceed forward. So you have a lot of multiple sequence diagrams. I don't have to go through all of them. Okay, then we get into other types of things called like structural models. Sridhar Kurta, actually, she said that, right? She talked about architecture and all that. So we are getting into that. Yes, Murtigaru, she is the one I'm referring to. Before you came, she gave an answer. So, so you have some kind of an organization of a system where you are identifying the high level components, right? So you create some models. So we'll look at how they look like. Okay. Like you would have seen like standard subsystem diagrams, right? In some of your foundational classes. So you'll have to build those things. In the object-oriented world, we call them class diagrams. If you remember Grady Booch's methodology or UML methodology, here is a class diagram. Go ahead, Murtigar.
It resembles CR diagram, right, sir?
You got it. Yep, we actually covered that last time. I'll reiterate that again here. So class diagram, when you look at it first time, it looks exactly like ER diagram. There is no difference, right, on the surface. But if you go one level deep, you will find the difference. The difference is if I treat this as an ER diagram, meaning patient is an and then I say entity is nothing but we defined entity, right? What are the characteristics that you want to keep track of which are relevant to your application, right? That's what an entity is. With respect to patient, I want to keep track of name, address, age, etc. Right? Whereas if patient is if I draw another one here, if patient is treated as a class, in addition to data, you'll also capture so what are some examples of functions here? Patient. View doctor's report, right? Schedule appointment with the doctor. Like for example, when I want to go meet my doctor at Kaiser Permanente, I go online. I say, hey, I need an appointment. Go ahead, Murtigar.
General condition also can be displayed as a
Yes,
method.
Absolutely.
Before doctor's report.
Correct. Yeah, I'm just listing brainstorming, Ante.
Okay, sir, no problem.
Yeah,
Sir, but
yeah.
just
So you say view profile, right?
view profile of the patient.
Got it. So that is the difference between an entity and a class. A class has both data and functions, whereas an entity only has data. But no matter whichever way you see it, go back to my original mantra, right? You have users, you have data, and you have functions. As long as you remember those three, Manake, we have the Brahma. So mana career lo gods veele users evaru data entity and then functions. Then you would look like a bright Einstein type of a person. Okay. Now you can see why things get a little bit more complex, right? Once you start putting all the classes in a picture, you start getting lots and lots of these boxes. And then you have to worry about cardinality.
Sir,
Remember? Yeah.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Tell me.
Actually, we have in the conventional modeling, you have ER diagram to depict the static relations, and you have the data flow diagram to depict the dynamic flow of data.
Correct.
Here, in the class diagram, you are representing the model for data and the methods also.
Yeah, you just list the methods, correct.
So these methods will help us in regulating the dynamic flow in a better way.
Correct.
In a disciplined way, rather.
Correct. And the way we show the dynamic behavior of the methods is where you can use things such as activity diagrams or sequence diagrams. because that is where you are showing how those methods are going to operate, right? That's where you're coding.
No, still the static structure.
Right.
But the layout of the methods, then my question is, sir, the
Yeah.
private, public are kind of access modifiers. You specify in class diagram only, right, sir? Depending on the
Typically,
specifiers, you decide the method, how to which extent it should be used in the remaining data flow aspects. Am I right, sir?
you are absolutely right. That's actually coming into the next slide, actually. But hold on to your thought. You are absolutely
No
right.
problem, sir. No
Yeah,
problem.
that's great. Because I want to keep it in slightly simpler terms for the students here. Because some of these things I would be asking them in the midterm. So students, you want to pay very close attention. Now, if you look at this picture, how many of you think this picture is too complex? Show of hands in Vijayanagaram. Is the picture too easy or is it complex to you? There are a lot of students in Vijayanagaram. So let's see, show of hands in Vijayanagaram. I'm already lost on this picture. I mean, when I'm lost, meaning it's not like I don't understand it, but it looks pretty complex to me. How many classes we are showing there? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 classes. Okay. Now, can you imagine there are, let's say, 20 classes in that slide? Do you think you will understand the slide easily if I show you 20 boxes there? Yes, no, perhaps?
So, small request. Can you just enlarge that slide? Actually,
Sure.
it's not visible to the students.
Oh, I see. Okay, sure. I can actually enlarge. Give me a second. Is it visible now? Or I'll put it in complete presentation mode. There you go.
Yes.
Okay. So my claim is, okay, I'll mute you for now because I'm getting started. My claim is, it looks like a busy slide, isn't it? Now imagine instead of 3, 6 to 8 boxes, which are all classes, let's say I have 16 boxes. Is it still an easy diagram to read? The question is it an easy diagram to read? చాలా మంది స్టూడెంట్స్ ఉన్నారు విజయనగరంలో, ఒక్కళ్ళన్నా ఆన్సర్ చేయాలి దానికి. State your name.
Rohita.
Uhitana?
Rohita.
Rohita. Okay, got it. Okay. Tell me. What do you make out of this diagram? Is it easy to read?
No.
No. Okay. What are the potential problems? Why is it not easy to read? Don't be shy.
Whatever you feel, you tell. Not problem. Be comfortable.
Consultant and patient, general practitioner.
Speak loud. Speak loud.
Mm-hmm. So there's no clarity.
It's very complex to me to understand this
Got
classes
it.
and associations.
Excellent. Excellent. That is what I wanted to. Okay. Now someone else also came behind you to answer.
Good morning, sir.
What's your name, Babu?
Manoj.
Manoj. Tell me, Manoj. Is the diagram easy to read for you? Okay, imagine if I expand this from 8 boxes to 16 boxes, would it still be easy to read for you?
No, sir.
Why?
It will be complex. More
It'll be
complex.
complex. You got it. You got it. You're absolutely right. So that is the reason. Okay, I'll put it in escape shorter slide mode and write it. Thank you, Baba. You answered it correctly. So what happens is I'll tell you what the problem is there. Okay. I'll mute you now. You can go sit now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm muted Vijayanagaram, so that way. So how did they come up with that, right? By the way, this is what you'll be doing in the midterm. And you'd also be doing the same thing in your project too. So watch what I'll do here now. Okay. So my problem domain, let's go back to University Information System. Everyone, remember, I always take an example where we understand the concepts, right? Okay. So who knows? Okay. So now I'm drawing a class diagram for a university information system. Got it? Don't get scared, Andy. I won't take 3 hours. So what did I say? That what are the 3 most important things for me? Users, use cases, data. Always remember that, right? Okay. Remember that. I'll delete it though. Okay. Now I start putting class diagram, right? So here is the user. I said university information system. Can you see the white on blue there? Let me change the color here. Okay, student. Okay. కొంచెం ఎక్కువ చేస్తాను. Okay. Now I'll duplicate that one. Control C. Control. Okay. అది నన్ను Control C Control V చేయనివ్వట్లేదు ఎందుకు? Copy. Paste. Okay. University information system low. Who else will be there? Users or classes, interesting classes, faculty, HOD. HOD does something different than regular faculty. Courses, registrar. You agree? Do I spell it right? Registrar, kada?
Sir,
okay. Yes.
For register HOD and
That's a great point, Andy. I'll be coming to that. Okay, hold on to your thought. That is the next level of abstraction that I want them to learn. Okay, but these are all the terms that all of us are familiar with, right? We have HOD untaru, registrar untaru, courses, faculty, students. ఇంకా ఎవరన్నా మోడల్ చేయాలి అక్కడ? అందరు వచ్చినట్టే కదా? Since in this country we do like visiting professors. You can say this is undergrad student. And then you can say control flow, sorry. Undergrad students, graduate students. See how I'm just thinking about the domain, right? Now, it's not like the lines come automatically, right? I start making some meaning out of these things. So then I look at it. Remember how Murthigaru said a class diagram looks similar to entity relationship diagram? You're absolutely right. Right now I'll start creating some meaning. What meaning I can create? Okay, can I put a line? Remember, I always take the easy one, right? Then I give the tough one to students. So if I take this arrow, I say faculty teach classes. Okay, and then each faculty teaches an actual instance of a class, right? I have to put a cardinality there.
We can have a classroom also as an entity.
Correct. See, so I forgot classroom here. So I can create a classroom. Got it? Okay. Now, but I said who takes care of all the financial things? We'll come to that in a second. So see how I drew the line there, right? Faculty teaches a course. Now I assume that the course is taught by only one faculty, okay? So course is taught by one faculty, but a faculty can teach many courses, right? See how I build the relationship, how I build the class relationships, correct? Now, so this is how you build it. Now, but what happens here is, right, I have combined multiple concepts. He can combine HOD, registrar into one. What is that one? Can we say, what did you want to call it, Andy? Admin staff, right? Got it? Okay. Now I can combine all students as admin staff system. So they're building an information system, right? I call it admin staff information system. I would call it yeah, right. And I'll call it faculty system, right? I would remove that one there, right? And I'll say course information system, right? Because now what did I do? How many boxes I've eliminated by doing like this? Quite a good number of them, right? What is the difference between this and the previous diagram? What this is called in UML terminology, a category diagram. Okay. Now in common sense terms, we can also call this as.
Why did you remove the classroom, sir?
The reason I removed classroom arbitrarily, I removed it because when I am talking about a code, when I have classroom by itself is not an interesting entity. When you have a course that is scheduled in a classroom, then it becomes interesting.
Yes, sir. When the real activity takes place, then the classroom entity has a meaning.
Correct. That's the reason I combined that. When I so what we did was, that's the reason students, when you said it's complex, The way you deal with complexity is you come up with a higher level of abstraction. That higher level of abstractions are called category diagrams, or you can say system architecture, subsystems, depending on who you talk to in the industry and depending on what their professors have taught them or what they have learned or not learned, they use different terminologies. Right? These are all the standard terms that we use. So whenever you are developing a system, it's not like you jump into class. Okay. Now, to add one small wrinkle to it, let me add another slide. Somewhere here, I'll say, one second. In the industry, when you do that, we didn't get to the chapter yet, but I'll introduce it here. We call it different perspectives, right? We say, what is the presentation layer or UI layer? The user interface. Okay. Then the next level after that, we call it business logic layer. I'm just giving like a 3-tier architecture. Okay. And then you have the database layer. So you interact with the system at the presentation layer. That's where you build hey, if I'm a student, I'm logging in. What are all the functions that I show? I can register for courses. I can pay fee. I can drop a course. I can add a course, right? All those things go there. And then you implement all of those things, the logic behind it at the scale. This is where you get into your sequence diagrams, activity diagrams, all kinds of process flows. Remember Murthy Garu talked about data flow diagrams. If you're comfortable with data flow diagrams, you can draw data flow diagrams. But data flow diagrams, I personally don't use data flow diagrams because I moved over to other levels of abstraction. Data flow diagrams can tend to be very technical and very hard to understand if you don't do them right. Okay, so then you have the database layer. Remember your ER diagram that you draw in the beginning? Now, once you know those things, I assume you learned things such as second normal form, third normal form databases. That has got to do something with removing anomalies and all that. So you create that good database design and implement it in a database layer. Okay, so this is where when you get into the final, when we talk more about architecture and all that, I'll be presenting some of these advanced concepts to you. Okay, questions, comments? So when you model a class, as you can see here, you have all the attributes here, the data on the top, and all the parenthesis is a standard way of showing functions, right? So that's how you build your templates. Okay, let me pause here. Questions, comments? Tirumala garu me cheppandi. You are a specialist in software engineering. Did I say it right? Do you want to add something to it?
Timing is pretty clear, sir. Crystal clear.
Okay, good. Murthy garu cheppandi.
People are actually. Can you just throw a little bit? Actually, they have a subject also called UML and design patterns. My colleague Anil is there here, sitting beside me, and he's taking the class. And how does
In fact, which I also wanted to know, you raised it.
Yeah.
Thirumal Rao, I appreciate you for that.
So, so what happens, Andy, if you let me mute you now, then I can talk to it. So it is, see, the entire concept of design patterns, if you look at the history, how they have come about is, right? The history behind it is, we have this concept called reusability, right? I do not know if any of the introductory programming classes taught them that. Why object-oriented technology became popular? Because one of the things that we taught in one class, and then you have an inheritance, you are reusing that code, right? So that is what led to its popularity. That was a myth. However, that led to further research where they said, I can create groups of classes like utility functions, right? If you look at all the libraries that are there, they are all nothing but reusable classes, right? So that was the next level of abstraction. And after that, they started recognizing patterns. Okay, almost all systems, remember, that's what we have, design patterns, we call them, right? And there are actually courses that we teach on design patterns. Where you go, which hospital, the pattern is still the same, right? Pretty much. So you started getting these patterns. Patterns are nothing but a higher level of abstraction, which embodies more and more classes in the pattern. Right? That's all it is, right? Now, go ahead. Somebody was about to say something.
One notion that regarding the factory method.
Correct.
Regarding the factory methods, I just have a notion that if I don't know to which class the object belongs, then the factory method is invoked to get object belongs. There comes the role of factory method. Is it true? Can you throw some light on that?
The factory method, ante, what you're doing basically is, right, you are still, let me mute you there. See, the whole idea of factory method is there is this machine learning. You heard about concepts like machine learning and expert systems, right? So you use some of those concepts where you have some vague notion and the system is doing the task for you, saying, hey, this fits into this pattern. There's a lot of pattern matching that happens behind the scenes, right? Based on some machine learning principles. Right? Because the user may not understand the entire, it's basically providing you a complete So now how can systems guide you? Predominantly we call it like Q&A based things, right? We have to ask some questions to you and then say, okay, based on these notions, this is the type of pattern that is relevant to you, right? It's kind of like diagnostic based methods, right? And all of those things are expert systems. What it means is expert systems, they learn as you go. So I hope that gives you some insight. But that's it. That subject itself is so interesting. We can do a complete semester-long course. I don't know if you have a course on design patterns. I'll be very happy to do that.
I really would love to have a design pattern course because that helps the students a lot to be the real project managers or analysts.
Correct. I agree. Actually, I get into in the pattern area since I'm a security researcher. You know, in security, we talk about information security patterns and all that, right?
Okay.
So when we do security analysis, we follow some patterns. There are about 47 patterns that we teach and all that. So we'll come back to that towards the end again.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, in this context, a small request to you, sir.
Tell me.
After introducing
model view. Yeah. At
model
some
view
point,
architecture,
yeah.
sir.
తప్పకుండా
At
అండి.
some
At
point
some
you
point,
please,
yeah.
some point you clarify that, sir. And another aspect is, yesterday we had All India Technical University Vice Chancellor's Conference held in JNTUK, sir.
Okay.
So we had some theme discussions and all. Now the Vikram Simhapuri, from the Orissa Burla University Vice Chancellor is here, sir, still. At the end of the class, he wants to come and greet us, sir, actually.
Oh, తప్పకుండా అండి. So why don't I do like this? Why don't we
tell me,
stop?
sir.
Why don't we stop here for the day? And
No need.
Continue then.
Right, sir.
See, what we just discussed now is where we get into this one, right? Next slide, if you see, let me go up. Right. So we use these concepts called generalization and specialization to deal with these complexities. Okay. Generalization means you take some specific classes. Let's say I took undergrad students and then I took graduate students, right? From those two, I generalize them to student. Example. Okay. Let me create a slide here. Give me 1 second, Andy. So when I initially modeled, if you recall, I had I had it as undergrad student here. Okay, so this brings out the generalization principle very well. What are the important things that I keep track of for undergrad student? I keep track of things such as name, why am I not able to do it here? Okay. Okay, I keep track of name. అక్కడ మీరు ఏదో ఐడి అంటారు కదా, ఐడి, అడ్రస్, right? For graduate student also.
You can add mail ID also.
Oh, mail ID, correct. Okay, so do I keep track of the same things for graduate student also?
Sir.
Right? So when I do that, now what I begin to realize is, you know what, I can abstract it out and create a, let me draw a box here, create a thing called, I'll delete this first bullet if you don't mind, I need the space. Student. Okay. So I'm taking these two existing classes, I'm generalizing the commonality between those two, and I create a thing called student. And from there I say, and at student level, I define the behavior. Student has student name, ID, address, cell number, and then my functions should be related to that, right? Give me student data, right? Give me the status, are they, or which year they are in. The functions are the same. And then I draw an arrow saying that, hey, I define a student class, define the behavior, and then I say the undergrad student class would inherit from like that.
Easy relation, sir.
It's basically an easy relation. Yeah. I try to stay away from the terminology. It could be also kind of also. Depending on who you talk to, it could be easy or kind of. So, but Grady, in the UML terminology, it's an easy relationship. You're absolutely right. Okay. So now the question then becomes, right? I mean, this is where the theory and practice differ, right? Which way do we go? Do we first create UG student, graduate student, and then go towards student? Or do we start off with student and go this down? Which way do we go? What is there is no right or wrong way to do it. When I'm modeling, I just put it down on a piece of paper, whatever comes to mind to begin with. That's why it's called brainstorming. Of course, there's another term for BS, right? I won't say that since there are a lot of dignified professors here. Sometimes we say here, hey, you want to do some BS session? We'll be happy to do that. Okay. So, but the bottom line is, why do we have this principle? Because we want to simplify our analysis, number one. Number two, we are also looking for ways to reuse code. It means going from bottom to up. Remember that, okay? You are taking something which exists in classes, you find some commonality between those two classes or three, then you abstract it out. అది మన మ్యాథ్స్ లో మనం ఏదో అంటాం లీస్ట్ కామన్ మల్టిపుల్ కామన్ డినామినేటర్ అవే అనేవాళ్ళం కదా. It is similar principle.
GCF, sir.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. The same concepts are coming here into play. If you really go deep into it, that's what it is. Okay. Now, much easier to understand, right? If you say that, let us imagine you don't have this student here. Creating another box called, okay, it's not letting me take that. Okay, now I can. I could have done this as female undergraduate students, right? And male undergraduate students, right? I could have done so many, same thing, I can create 10 different classes. But again, whether it's relevant or not, that is where the analyst, that is where a good analyst is worth more money than a not so good analyst, right? If I have to create a class called female undergrad student, and then I want to create wow, mug. Okay. Why should I not create them like that, or why should I create them? Any student can answer. How about Murthy garu venakal kuchun students ever answer cheyagalugtara question?
Please clarify. Suppose for your brain, you may feel that yes, you can have undergrad student, or you can say circuit branch students, non-circuit branch students, business. Sir is asking. I hope you are clear with the question.
Absolutely.
Whether it is right or wrong, you give some kind of answer that initiates a thought process. We don't mind if you give a wrong answer. Please. Even
And
I
then,
give wrong answers sometimes. No problem.
by the way, there are no wrong answers. We can justify every answer. So
That's all the more better, sir.
that's why software engineer's life in one way is very nice, because software is the only thing where when you look at the package, they say there are no guarantees made. You have to use it as is. Okay. So what Murthy sir said is absolutely right. Male undergraduate students and male undergrad students. Now I am a vice chancellor. I'm thinking, hey, is there a need for me to report to the government that I have this many females in my program? Right? Remember, there's a lot of studies going on in STEM education for girls, right? Science, technology, engineering, and management. So that's a very relevant question at a different level, at administrative level. Since it's a relevant question, it's important for me to keep track of them. That is one way of looking at it, right? But now, if I go there and say, what are the functions associated with female student do any functions which are different than a male undergrad students from a student information system perspective? Absolutely not. Since they do not do any functions, absolutely not, I would still simply call them as student, undergrad student. Okay. Now, how would I address from a reporting purpose that we need to keep track of male versus female? It's just an attribute, right? There's a field called sex, male and female, that should do it, right? So once that analysis I do, I say it is just UG student. I don't need female. Okay. Now, if I apply the same logic to undergrad student versus do research, they are expected to be like teaching assistants to professors, right? A lot of professors there, they use master students to do some research, and right, the behavior is different between an undergrad student and a graduate student. So you model them as two separate classes, right? You got it? Okay. So I think I've covered too many important topics today. I know the students look pretty fried. Their brains are fried now. So go back and assimilate what I said. Come up with your own examples like this. See, I said I use only slides as a way. Because in your midterm, that's exactly what you'd be tested on. I don't give specific problem to solve. I say you come up with the problem, you solve the problem. So if you practice these things like what I'm doing in the class, you will score above 90. Tirumala garu cheppandi. Cheppandi, sir.
Sir, one last question from my side, sir. Since you are a security expert, actually in 2012, I think Yahoo has a software security problem. Can you just throw one line on that?
Only I don't even know what Yahoo security problem was.
You few questions.
Yeah.
Probably next class I'll talk with you.
Definitely, because what happens there is most of the security things that happen, we do what is known as vulnerability analysis. మీరు టర్మ్ వినే ఉంటారు మీరు. Security vulnerability analysis అని చేస్తాం మేము. Where we identify the weak points where an attacker can possibly hack into the system. So if you tell me what Yahoo breach you're referring to, I can certainly throw more light on it.
Sure, sir. By next class, I'll get back to you.
Sure. Since you raised that question, let me give you some additional information. Have you heard about CERT? most of the students, I mean, I'll give them some reference material at the end of the class, at the end of this course anyway. But students want to go Google up CERT. You will get a lot of useful information when you Google up CERT, okay, about security in particular. Okay, Andy, so I'm done with my class. Surprisingly, I didn't get my tea today. So, okay, students, tell me questions, comments.
Sir, one of our student has a question. Can you take it, sir?
Yes, yes.
Sure, with
I have
pleasure.
all the time.
So why won't we consider from top-down manner? Because if I have a student list, I can easily separate undergraduate student and postgraduate, graduated student. So I can also easily develop a code for that.
Absolutely.
Why we are choosing bottom-up manner?
That's an excellent question. Let me mute you and then I'll answer after starting. So the question is, she says, why did I go bottom up as opposed to coming from top down? Both are right approaches. Remember, I said there's no such thing as a wrong answer or a right answer, right? It depends on your background and what you're comfortable with, right? You could have easily come from, if you really paid attention, the very you can go either way. It doesn't matter. Both are absolutely right, whatever your comfort level is. And the related question there is, which you may not have thought about, but I'll say it. A lot of times people ask me, do you start with entity relationship diagram or do you start with functional diagram? Where do you start with? Right? Either way, you can start with data modeling or you can start with use case model. It doesn't matter. Some people are so good at data, all they can think about is data. So those guys start with ER diagram. But some people can visualize functionality, how the users can use the system, right? It's how your brain is wired. So I always used to start with data. If I know what the data is, everything else is easy for me, right? Of course, now I can go anywhere. So it really doesn't matter what your starting point is. But the idea is once you get something on a piece of paper, the ability to think through, remember the kind of questions that I raised here, right? That analysis is what is required. Okay.
Sir, here I add one point to this, sir. In the very beginning, exactly, sir. At my beginning of the career also, I started ER modeling kind of thing.
Okay.
What I feel is generally, sir, if you club both, that is, ER model to some extent, then try to get some functionality also.
Absolutely.
Then you can club top down and bottom approach simultaneously. Because
Absolutely.
whatever comes to your mind perfectly, you make all those diagrams, then you can really check which is coming at the top, which is generalization, which is specialization. From the functionality and the behavior of the data, you can club them. Then you can really club the behavior into the appropriate classes.
Absolutely. I completely agree. That's where we call it iterative modeling, right? We have to iterate through the process.
Iterative modeling, exactly, sir.
Correct.
Then actually the boundaries where the data fails also can be checked by us. Then to integrate test this stuff, they also can plan simultaneously.
Correct. I agree with you.
Is it okay, sir?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. Those are all great thoughts. So I regret today we did not do any stretching in the class. We went in one big 2-hour session. Next week we'll do that. Chepande, we have some important visitor there.
Yes, sir. Is Professor Sai Baba?
Hello.
This
చెప్పండి.
is Professor Saibaba Reddy.
నమస్కారం అండి. Nice to meet you.
Namaskaram, Master. I am, of course, right now the Vice Chancellor at Veer Sunil Desai University of Technology at Orissa, but I am the family member of JNTU. In fact, people like you. And I was there for the last 30 years in JNTU. So I am really
very
appreciating.
nice. ఎక్కడున్నారు? ఎక్కడ పనిచేశారు జేఎన్టీయూలో మీరు?
JNTU Hyderabad. JNTU Hyderabad.
30 years అంటే మీకు మరి ప్రొఫెసర్ బాబు, పరదేశీరావు వీళ్ళందరూ తెలిసే ఉంటారు.
తెలుసు ఉంటారు. తెలుసు మాస్టర్. I am a graduate from JNTU Hyderabad only, 79-83 batch.
79-83. నేను I graduated from there in 81.
Okay, just 2 years senior to me.
2 years, and if you followed chess,
maybe 3 years. 3 years. First 4 year batch 79-83. బాబు గారు వాళ్ళంతా అప్పుడు ఆయన CBIT లో కొన్ని రోజులు పనిచేశారు.
అవును. వెరీ నైస్. I'm thrilled to talk to you because I graduated in 81 from JNTU, and then it was a very interesting experience for me because all those guys, Pardeshi Rao and all, they were my dad's students.
Okay, right.
And so I used to be under enormous pressure. They think that I should be as good as my dad. I said, I can't beat my dad, so I am myself. And I don't fit in it. So
it's very nice talking to you, sir.
Nice talking to you.
I just came to appreciate the effort that you made and just to have a share with you.
I think what is making this class interesting.
Very nice, sir. Very nice. In fact, I always feel that my knowledge levels are 30%. I'll give credit to my students.
Oh, absolutely.
30% of knowledge, because of the way of their questioning, the way the interaction. You will feel your student throughout the life as long as you with the students.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you.
So I appreciate your efforts and sharing your knowledge with these guys, so that they have the knowledge from the right from the horse mouth. They feel very happy have it out. Thank you. Nice talking to you, sir. Please let me not interrupt your technical discussion.
No problem. They also ask very tough questions.
No, instead of saying tough questions, that will bring out your
more
inherent more knowledge out, because in the form of questions only actual knowledge will come out.
Absolutely.
Which is there is like an ocean. How much water you take depends on your capabilities.
Absolutely. And then the thing about this interaction, and the students actually see that we don't necessarily have to agree. Faculty members don't necessarily have to agree on everything.
Yeah.
It's all about perspectives, right? Different people bring different perspective based on their own.
This is one thing what I feel in our education system slightly lagging is the interactive mode.
Correct.
In our classrooms, always and I also recollect my teacher's days, student days. Teacher goes to the blackboard and delivers what all he wants to deliver, and go off. We are listening. Maybe last benches sometimes they may be sleeping, but the interaction will only make the people to participate and learn more and more effective. I think that's where the knowledge will grow.
Absolutely, Andy. I completely agree with you.
Very nice talking to you, sir.
Nice talking to you. Thank you.
Murthy, I admire the Murthy is working so well in different directions. my senior.
Thank you, Andy.
He was our JNTU student, sir, basically. That is the reason why he agreed to teach our students. We are fortunate to have this kind of alumni. That is first thing, sir. I should appreciate in that regard. Otherwise, for his busy schedule and for his activities, he need not look at JNTU basically.
No,
So I really
I don't agree with you, Andy. మీరు అలా అనేస్తే నేను దేశభక్తి ప్రకటించాల్సి వస్తుంది ఇక్కడ.
Actually, sir, worked in University California, Berkeley for some time. He's a security consultant to Cisco. That platform only the class is going on, sir, right now. And so he does multiple tasks, and now he's in the extension center of Berkeley University, right, sir?
Yeah, I've been associated with UC Berkeley for about almost since 1990, Andy. My mentor, Professor Ramurthy Garu, invited me to teach there on the main campus. I used to teach software engineering classes with him to their graduate students. And subsequently, the UC Berkeley extension is the continuing education arm of Berkeley. They have asked me to be their advisor and faculty member. So since then, I have been doing on again. Childhood friends. His dad and my dad were colleagues in OU. So we grew up together. And when Kumar Garu said, hey, can you do something? I said, anytime. I'm always there. So for free too, Murthy Garu. Murthy Garu knows the story. So I don't know, students, if you know it or not, they were going to compensate me quite nicely, of course, right? I'm sharing this not because I want to boast, but I want to tell you how we should all think as we grow, right? That they are doing in terms of educating people, right, in our values. And the other half is going to go to some needy student.
In the JNTU.
In JNTU. Whoever, right?
He offered them some amount. He said, I will not take any amount. I will do it for this charity. 50% to this and 50% to the needy student. So he is not taking a single rupee remuneration.
To me, the joy of teaching and interacting with students is priceless, right? Everything else is secondary. So, and all of your faculty members are like that too. So it's not just me, all of them are like that. So
because Infotech Mohan Reddy Garu, he is delivering paying the charges to the IIT Chennai for getting there. So almost we are getting a free service from people.
We take the pleasure of either teaching, not to JNTU, I would call our juniors, 30 years juniors.
absolutely,
33 years junior. That's how we feel when you start my class. I'll say you are 30 years junior to me. I am your senior, taking your class.
That's a good one.
Pleasure of delivering the material.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Very nice talking to you, Masaru.
Thanks, Andy.